Victor out in Cape Town, South Africa writes, I've always used solid state amps, but I keep hearing about the magic of tubes and how they add warmth and realism and a more musical quality to playback. The thing is, I don't have a local dealer where I can audition tube gear, and buying something just to try it out feels risky. And none of us want any risk, right? I'm wondering if the difference is really that dramatic, especially with modern recordings and digital sources. Do tubes always color the sound, or can they be transparent and revealing as well? Would a tube preamp be a good starting point, or is it better to go all in with a tube amp? I'd love your perspective. You might not love my perspective. I'll tell you right now. Boy, Tubes and I go way back. We manufacture a line of products, the BHK series, Bascom H. King, the late Bascom H. King, who designed everything with vacuum tubes in it. But he and I agreed on something. If you're going to use vacuum tubes, keep them out of the output stage for preamps, for power amps especially. You can put them in the output stage of, say, a DAC, and I've heard those sound really quite good. But in general, tubes used on the input stage are really quite nice, and that's why we built an entire line around the BHK series. Tubes are unique voltage amplifying devices where transistors are, for the most part, what we call BJTs, bipolar junction transistors, if you need the acronym explained. Regular old transistors, they are current amplifying devices. So one's a voltage amplifying device, the other's a current amplifying device. And that may seem like, who cares? But it does make quite a difference in the way they sound. In general, vacuum tubes do sound warmer. In general, vacuum tubes sound very rich and open. They can, like any circuit poorly designed, they can give you pretty poor results. Again, I would stay away from them for power amplifiers unless it's just in the input stage. Now, with the new PMG series of amps that are coming out probably in 2026, I imagine we're going to launch those at Expona in 2026, which would be like April, I think. You'll see us move away from vacuum tubes and back into FETs. Now, an FET, a field effect transistor, is a solid state equivalent of a vacuum tube in that a FET is also a voltage amplification device as opposed to a current amplifying device like a BJT. And ours is a combination of FETs and BJTs, but engineer Darren Myers, who designed the input stage at least of these new PMG signature power amplifiers and the preamp, he realized something that he and I had waxed on about forever. And we do these lunches and we talk electronic philosophy. I'm sure you'd be bored to death. But much of how a circuit sounds has to do with the amount of feedback, its bandwidth, its slew rate, its open loop response, its closed loop response, how much feedback it has, all that kind of good stuff. That tends to be more important than the type of devices that you use. Now, all of it matters, for sure, but one of Darren's ideas that he presented to me was, he said, what if we made a open loop? Open loop means no negative feedback, right? We're not taking the output and putting it back to the input. We're just, here's an input, it goes straight through, and there's the output as our starting point. Now, we've done this for years, way before Darren ever came, to try and make it open loop stable. In other words, it has to work without any negative feedback. We then throw a bit of negative feedback on there, close down the loop, lowers the distortion, lowers the output impedance, all kind of good stuff. Too much, not good. And many circuits, the vast majority of analog circuits, don't even work when you pull that feedback off. And that's a whole another subject. We don't cotton to that out where we live. So yeah, we don't do that. Anyway, what Darren said, what if I could design something that was flat out to say 60 kilohertz, 100 kilohertz, so that the frequency response is flat, the distortion is flat. In other words, distortion isn't rising with frequency, which is what normally happens. Noise doesn't rise with frequency, to where the whole thing is straight across like this, and then we wrap some feedback around it. And the results of that were extraordinary. It just blew away the BHK series. And that's the basis of the PMG for the preamplifier that people are already out there raving about. It's the basis of the new amplifiers, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, vacuum tubes in general, if you're not going PMG and you're not keeping up with us in all this crazy technology stuff, and you're just out on the open market, vacuum tubes are something I would suggest taking a look, or certainly a listen to. And I know you find it risky to audition something or to take it home. I don't know what to tell you. You got to take some risks sometime. It's okay. It's okay. All right. Enough. I'll talk to you later. Bye.